Okay, so before the break, we're looking at audio stuff. It's fairly straightforward. That's the reading this week, and it's a relatively short reading assignment. Shouldn't take you too long. Um, One thing we haven't seen yet, though, is what we do when we're finished. That's something that's happened at the beginning of the semester a couple times. When people went to submit things, I guess they were expecting it to be in like one single file, that finished version. So they would send just one file. And until we build until we build the standalone version at the end, we need all those files. But we haven't seen how to build the standalone version yet. So let's take a look at that. Screen. Or, and I think I'm gonna look and see what games I have on here. I think all the ones on this computer are just just been small samples, either from class or from getting ready. Not really, not really any finished things. I don't want to. I'll grab this. So when Godot 4 came out, I'm gonna do my process for learning a new game engine. Because Godot 3, up to 3, it existed, it worked pretty well. It was open source, it ran on Linux. That was kind of the big thing, is Linux users could program games with Godot. But when Godot 4 came out, they made some really nice updates and kept everything simple and consistent, and all those features that would make it nice for learning on were there. So that's when I knew I needed to go learn it. So my normal process is to sit down and make a game. Let's see here. So I'll grab the game I made. And use that for a build version. Third system triathlon game, I made like a track and a little block character that ran around the track and jumped over hurdles. Then goes to another level and he like rows a boat in a river. And another level where he's like riding a bike. And nothing too fancy, just everything's like the rough draft version. And it just gave me something that had a whole lot of functionality from the game engine in one project that I could keep coming back to and use as my own personal reference. So that's very, very useful for that. It's taking forever to download. I didn't think it was that big of a project. Yeah, it's just small, trivial things here, nothing that would really be worth building the game on. Maybe I should have downloaded it before. But that would be a recommendation I have, is that whenever you go to learn a new engine, just sit down and start making stuff. And you're probably going to have to look up like every step at first, over and over again. But before long, the pieces will start to come together, and you're looking up less and less. And you're finished when you start doing stuff without having to look it up. That's kind of what I do. I just start putting it together, and I know at the beginning it's something new. Gonna have to look up all the syntax everywhere, and spend a whole lot of time doing research. And a few hours later, or maybe a day or so later, not looking up hardly anything, and it's like, okay, that finishes out the practice project, the one for getting ready. It might take a long time. That's taking a long time to know. It shouldn't take that long. There we go. Oh, no, it's gonna take forever to extract it. I guess there was quite a bit to that. I spent like 2 or 3 days making that game. But then there's some other ones. So like uh, this one, I just sat down, made a triathlon. When I first learned Unity, I sat down and put myself on a time limit because we were planning a hackathon, like statewide hackathon, and was going to use Unity. So I wanted to see how much could be done in 4 hours. So I put myself on the time limit to learn that, and I said, made a game. It was like a platformer, and the cutscene, like this kid was fishing and hit a beehive with the fishing pole. So then the platformer was just running from giant bees trying to get back to the house. And that's what I put together to learn Unity. And the same thing at first, was having to look up every single thing. And by about 3 hours into it, I wasn't really looking things up anymore. I was taking guesses of what I thought it would be based off what I'd already done, and a lot of stuff was working. So that's kind of my general recommendation for whenever you go to learn a new one is make a small project. Doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be super fancy, and you're probably going to leave it unfinished because it was a practice project. And to really make something nice, you by the time you get to the end, you'd have to go back and redo a whole bunch of the sloppy stuff that was done at the beginning. So it's something, yeah, a casual way to learn it. Yeah, this like that. And it was made on 4.0, so this was right after 4.0 came out. But it should open without many issues. I'm not sure if I have anything finished on 4.4, except the homework assignments you all have turned in. Um, yeah, hopefully this is going to take long. I don't think I have very many shaders in here, but apparently there's going to be a big update for shaders. The normal process there, reading the messages, but eventually we'll hopefully get a game that works. I don't know why it couldn't have just done that the first time. Like this has to be done, so might as well. Why even give that option to the user? Oh, that didn't take long. So yeah, you see just a big block. Oh, I guess I never said the current the scene. I'll maybe do that before building it. Okay. So yeah, the character's running, jumping, right? A lot of work to go still, but just a complete practice piece, and I think I probably put then page down to get to the other one. Practicing a little with animations. I think I'm supposed to be running into those flags. This is also where that water and sky shaders, like we saw, that has become my standard example. So we're in there. Oops, I don't want to page down. And then this bike riding thing is like running around, and I think get points for going through the gates. Nothing too fancy, but that was just a practice piece, right? It's really not even finished anymore. Oh, yeah. Oh, camera controls. But I'll call it a finished game so that we can see about building the game. We need to make sure we have our starting point. So, whoops, not that one. Go to the scene that you want to start from. Running event, 3D view. Yeah, I'll start there. Select current. And yeah, there's a score, saving, all of the basic functionality. I just went through sort of the checklist of all the things, the basic things we want from a game. But once that's ready, under project, we have our export button. But you'll notice uh, there's no options to choose from. We have to load in what we want. So let's do a web build. All of them, it was kind of there'll be different levels of options. Make sure you, when you start doing this, you redo every one, hover over it, see what it does. The default should be good for web. I have to adjust that. I'm just going to go with those and then export package, export project. Find a place to put it. Let's go to maybe documents and create a new folder here. Try again. There we go. When we save it. Oh, I did forget to change something. Remember, there's something in the HTML exports that's a little off. There we go. So you see we got our logo, JavaScript stuff. Then here's the starting one, which should really be called index.html. I always forget to do that when I export them. Let me change it here. Could just rename that file, but where are we exporting it to? I'm going to export it to index.html. Yeah. So everybody seen that from? Is that everybody done web stuff before? The server's always going to look for a file called index.html or .php or JSP or ASP or whatever type of page you have. But it's going to try to start in a file called index. So make sure you set that name when you export it. Then export project. There we go. And the thing about the web exports is it does have to run on a server. If we just tried to open it up locally, like you might have done with your stuff in the SDEV 153 class, it's not going to work locally because those are intended to be put on web servers set up for delivering games. So itch.io, Steam, probably do that. Those are two I'm recommend putting stuff on. So we need a server to run it. So you'll need some sort of test server. If I just open terminal, I probably don't install it on this computer. I haven't done anything with me in this country. No, for sure. It's in controls. Right. And another one, the definitely not one Python from the Microsoft store. That one does Microsoft sets it up in a weird way. Python has a built-in test server, so we don't even have to import modules or anything. 3.13.3. Yeah, there's a built-in one, but then there's also lots and lots of better ones people have developed for Python that we can include. Use admin privileges, add it to the path, and install. It'll take a couple seconds here. Most of you will probably have Python on your computers already, right? I'm guessing y'all don't do factory resets after every single class, so sometimes halfway through the term because you intentionally break it. But I do that on mine. I intentionally break it as like demo things, so be like, don't follow this example. There's just something to watch out for because it's much better to see the error and learn how to fix it than to just be told to avoid the errors. So lots of waiting, and I thought about setting that stuff up earlier. Could have even done it over the break, but I wanted to accentuate this point in the builds. Like next week when we do VR, we actually have to install others' software. We have to have Android Studio installed, and we have to do a build on at least one project of Android Studio, and then we'll do that. So what we'll do is I'll send the link. So for those that want to follow along, you can install Android Studio on your computer. And then we just go open up the template project and build that once. And then all of the build files are there, the Cradle builds there, so that then Godot can use the cached files from that build. Because if we don't have that done, then we get error messages about can't load a file from the cache. And there's a lot of the build, there's sometimes some waiting processes. That's why I decided to do this in class instead of beforehand. All right, so let me open the terminal back up. Should have Python now. Okay. Got Python installed, so I'm going to go over to the folder where this is at and open PowerShell here. On Windows machine, you just have PowerShell or CMD and the address bar. If you're on a Mac, you hold down Options. You go to the folder in Finder, and you hold down the Options key, and then down at the bottom of Finder, there's some breadcrumbs will appear. And when you click on the folder in the breadcrumbs, you'll get a open in terminal option. Makes it a little easier than navigating through the folders all in text. All right, so now I'm in that right folder. I'm going to have the Python interpreter use the http.server. And I don't know, I'm just port 5050, just make up a port number. But that should. We're getting something there. I might need another parameter. Python HTTP server. Dash in. I thought it looked off whenever I typed it. So Python, and we need the module http.server 50, and then make up some port number for it. It'll just take a second, but it'll spin up a basic web server. I thought I gave it admin permission. Make sure it has admin permission. So it has a web server. So now if we just open a browser and navigate to our own machine, there's a special address 127.0.0.1 is always going to be the machine you're on, which is also localhost. And then a colon for the port number. I think I put 5050. So localhost, we just navigate to our own machine, the web server operating on our own machine, and what port we want, and then it should open up that index.html file. If it's called something else, you'll have to put slash and then the file name. Hopefully everybody's seen that before. And then that allows you to test it. That one built into Python, you wouldn't want to use that. That's only a test server. You wouldn't want to use it for an actual website unless you knew for certain that you would only ever get one website visitor at a time. But when we're debugging stuff, we know we're only going to have one visitor at a time. So now the game still behaves the same. The clouds aren't moving for some reason. That might have been one of the checkboxes. Or maybe I didn't have the clouds moving. We go to the next level. And can row our little guy around the river. Go to the next level. And can ride the bike over this big hilly area and yeah, if I wouldn't have kind of stopped at that point, I would have set up controls so they could start doing backflips and different tricks on the bike. But I felt like I had to put the engine down, so I was ready to move on to an offshore project that would be planned out from the beginning and not be quite so sloppy in the code and stuff. But I still go back to that for reference all the time. So see how easy it is to build those. Do on a desktop build. I'm on Windows, so I'll add a Windows build. Again, all the different settings, choose a place to put it. I'll put a new folder inside of this one. Windows desktop. New folder in here. Okay, it was trying to give me the HTML extension. So the Windows desktop one should be a .exe one. Just like the Mac one should, if you export for Mac, you should have a .application. It should be the right file type. Unlike the website when this one doesn't need a specific name, we just call it triathlon. Export the project. Completed with warnings, but we can ignore warnings. Unless we know they're going to turn into errors. Oh, here it is. And if you change your icon, if you want a different picture for your icon, that's in project settings. We'll kind of look at where that is in a moment. Should start up this way. So you see it's really easy to build once we're finished. Most of them are similar. For Android, we'll have to download a build template because we want the latest version of Android and all that. This is taking a while. Maybe this is what all those errors were about. Or warnings. Maybe they were. Maybe I should look at what those warnings were. Oh, no, it's just going slow. Probably preloading everything in RAM, and my RAM is already pretty full. Windows tries to do that. Windows, all the things that use lots of RAM, like Zoom and Chrome, are already eating up a lot. So when I started the game, Windows probably wanted to load the whole game in RAM at once. Still seems to be working correctly. Run on the track, get some practice, go to the next level. We're around this lake or river, whatever this is. And the bike one. There's one of the gates. Oops. run right into the gate. So you can see it kind of works. Oh, it looked like it was repeating those warnings. I didn't leave it to stay open or anything. But the build stuff is pretty much ready for us. Next week we're going to do VR, so might as well go ahead and install, bring in Android template. And it's written small at the bottom, it might be hard to see, but it says target platform requires something texture compression, enable import, so fix that. I guess I already have it imported. The first time you go to put the Android one in there, it's going to ask you to import it, which I was expecting that, but I guess it's for the I get the build template must be for the editor, not for the project. I thought it was project settings, but it didn't ask me for it again, so they might have updated it so that we keep those going. Default settings are probably good here. I don't have a lot to do. And then the Android installer is .apk, which same thing. Whenever we'll have a lot more settings to change next week when we do the VR stuff, but we'll just build an Android APK file and then side load that onto the VR headsets. So before next week, like it'll be next Wednesday. So maybe even after Monday, I'll send a announcement out with the software we'll need to install in order to build for VR and all that. But that's what we do once it's finished, right? All this stuff is already there, built in. The big systems are not free. So to build for PlayStation, the licensing fee is it's going to sound like a lot if I say the number in here, because everybody in here is a college student. It's going to sound like a lot, but compared to how many copies you're pretty much guaranteed to sell if you do a PlayStation build, it's not going to be much. But it does cost $40,000 up front, and then you have to pay an extra fees on top of that that vary depending on your game. About the same thing with an Xbox. They're all right in that range. I don't know the cost for the Steam console. The Steam console might be different because we can just build a web thing and put it on Steam. So I don't know. Now that Steam released a console, I don't know how the console's handling it. But Microsoft and Sony charge a lot for that licensing. $40,000 sounds like a lot, but you're gonna if you're releasing your game on PlayStation or Xbox, you're gonna make way more than $40,000 in sales off that. Because right off the bat, you can guarantee that there are 10 million people that want at least 10 million people that want every single game released for the system. So the money will come back on it. It's just at least in a classroom that probably sounds like an alarming amount of cost. And then there's extra work you have to do. So it's probably best just to pay one of the programmers that just does that for their full-time job, because they know exactly what's going on with all the systems and all the game engines and all of that. And the little bit they add on to those minimal fees isn't really going to be much when you do a large business. But when we're setting those numbers, I know those numbers are. But for like a website and Android website, we can release stuff on Steam or put things on Steam and it's or sell, and many other sites like those. For Android, we can just put it on the Play Store ourselves. And basically, as long as it doesn't crash under its own power, we can put it on the Play Store. For games, Apple will often let people put out games from the Apple Store. They have a few more tests that they want to run. Make sure it's not going to crash and mess with other things on the phone. But for games, Apple is a little bit more lenient on who gets to put it for an Apple device, because they know people want games and it would take room to do that. So let me stop that server. But that's what we do when the game's finished. Anybody have any questions about that? Seem fairly easy? For the most part, I think, especially starting off, what you're gonna do is probably mostly HTML build and put it on sites like itch.io or Steam or many others. See thumbs up. And yeah, then the big releases are further down. Maybe if you have some ideas for mobile, right? Mobile has some different controls, so that's a little you want to make sure you have good control on the mobile game. Then you can just put it on the Play Store as a store yourself. That's the Play Store. There's a small fee, a one-time fee. It may have gone up when I paid it 9 years ago. It was $25. Paid $25 9 years ago, and they still upload stuff to the Play Store on that account. There's different things. The standard is the site, if you're selling it and bringing in money, the standard is the site will keep 30%. There's a wiggle room, but it's going to be right around. You get 70% of the money, the site gets 30% of the money, and they're doing a lot of the work. If you want to like make your own and trying to sell it yourself, it is a lot of work. So it is worth it to give them that chunk of money, because if the game starts selling, you're gonna get money on it. Though lately, I think this and myself and other people, donate buttons seem to do a little bit better than price tags these days, because there are a lot of people very frustrated with the AAA gaming industry. So if they see an indie game developer, they want to support them. So if you put $5 in the game, they'll give you $5. But if you put a donate button, they'll give you a lot more than $5. Just because they want to support indie game developers a lot more than the big games right now. So that team tends to be doing, depending on what you want to put into it. Seeing some people that's weird, also like they put a price tag on it, but then they free. So like name a holiday and be like, oh, you're in this game away free for 3 days before and after this holiday, and then they put the donate button there and bring in way more in sales than they do for the rest of the year. People actually buy it. Different ways to release it, but that's the steps of what we do when we're done with it. So y'all turned into nice projects so far in this class. So try building a couple of the projects and see if logo the module discussion board is to go through the steps to get ready to something, or if you're really right in here, because there's been some pretty nice stuff turned in this class. Instead of just an asset, you want to put a game on itch.io, you're okay with that. I wouldn't count that as incorrect for meeting the required checklist on the assignment. This week's discussion board is great. I mean, hopefully a fun one. Pitching came in with material and stuff, and I'm not worried about moderation. Nobody's gonna see it except classmates. We're not making any money on it, so we'll go. Just find a picture, put some words on it, humorous, insightful, an observation you've made. Hopefully, it's a little bit more fun than the typical discussion boards, and yeah. Don't worry about the replies this week. You know, if you want to say that's hilarious or something, but yeah, we're sharing memes, so more like social media commentary on it. But like, that's a good one, and that's a great reply, or just laugh at it and move on. So I won't count on for replies this week. Just get the memes posted and hopefully have fun with it. Any questions before we wrap up today?
Yeah, I had a question.
Yeah.
Are groups for a meeting, is that possible? Also, is Angela in class? Okay, Angela, do you want to meet still today? Okay, cool. We'll do that then.
Sure. Group project, because yeah, that's actually week 7 and 8, but it's coming up soon, and group projects happen, so starting early is a good idea. That definitely made tip number 1 I put together for that idea online shop. Any other questions? Okay, I've seen 5 seconds would be enough to put something in the chat, so if there's any questions, send them our way. Again, I'll be in Indianapolis the rest of the week with, tight agendas all day, so I'll answer in the email as soon as I can, but it won't be as quick as normal. And I should be getting home about Friday night, so be back to the normal schedule on Friday. So I'll set up the breakout rooms if you want to talk to your teammates for the next group project. Otherwise, I will see you all next week. Everybody have a good weekend.